Welcome back to SWURL Radio. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm Ayka. At SWURL Radio, we stand for those who messed up, ruined relationships,
bombed a grade, said the wrong thing, lost the ideal client,
overpromised and underdelivered, showed up late and missed their shot.
Today, we're talking about what it really takes to build something from scratch. Not the highlight reels, but the failures, the pivots, the years of figuring it out.
Because nobody hands you the playbook. You write it as you go, and sometimes the first draft doesn't work. The question is, what do you do next?
If your systems are disconnected, your leads are slipping through the cracks, and you're not sure where to go with your digital transformation, today's guest has built a career on solving exactly that. Helps growth-focused business owners turn chaos into clarity. Please welcome Maestro.
Hello, Eric and Ayka. I appreciate you guys having me on the podcast. It's good to finally be here.
So we're happy to have you. So Maestro, every podcast we have here, I always ask the same question. So I'm going to direct this question to you, okay? So if LinkedIn disappeared tomorrow and we all had to reintroduce ourselves without the titles, without the resumes, I would love to know, what would you lead with? And what would you want to know about someone else?
This is interesting because I saw you ask the last guest on the podcast and I was like, how would I answer that question? And she was kind of stopped as well too. Well, if I took off the title, I would have to describe who I am as a human being, who I am as a servant, and who I am as a leader. And that's how I would describe myself in those ways without using the titles. I would want to know if the universe told them that they can have what they want, but they had to sacrifice and give up most of the things that they like, would they take that deal?
Oh, wow.
So you get what you want, but you sacrifice everything that you like to get what you want? Does that include like people you love, or is it more like the material things that you like?
Well, he didn't say love, he said like.
Well, you did say like, so I was like, there's a lot of things I love, so I get to keep the things I love. I don't get to keep the things I like.
Well, if you sacrifice them, I mean, the thing is, it's one thing I like to say about that, because I don't have to like you to love you, you know, because there's a lot of people I love I don't like.
Fair. That's good. That's a good. And I've never responded that way, by the way.
Yeah, that's different. I like that. This is a first. That's pretty cool.
So we just want to ask you a little bit more historical questions about like what got you to where you are now, and when did you realize that was kind of your path?
Actually, the word TIE is an acronym for my company, the Iconic Expressions. But in terms of my origin story, I started off with Hungry and Humble that I co-founded. And that actually is what eventually led me to where I am now in terms of an agency and an owner, business owner, and a decade-In entrepreneur. And it actually was the pursuit of me striving to get into the music business and have my own quote unquote, label, an entertainment company. And because of those different nuances, I had to learn a lot of marketing and branding scenarios at an early stage of my entrepreneurship. And even though I was terrible with it, that's what actually got me into the Yellow Brick Road.
What made you want to start an entertainment company? You know, there's a lot of these big dogs out there, so you're already kind of competing. So what gave you that mission?
The big dogs, huh? Yes, there are at that time, in terms of that, if I were to make it make sense, there's a situation where either you're going to go independent or you're going to get signed. I'm sure you all have heard of that and seen that. And it's got more popular talk these days, but back then it wasn't as loud about your pursuit when it came to music. So if you were going to go get signed, you have to have a network. You have to have certain resources. You have to have a certain knowledge I'm not even going to say you had to have a certain amount of talent because we all know you ain't got to have talent to make it in the music business. At least that's what I believe.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but in terms of the routes, I wanted to go the independent route. Was one, I loved music. I grew up. My mother was in the choir. A lot of my family, was in music. Not the business itself, but they did a lot of music. I fell in love with music in my early teenage years, and I started producing um, beats. I'm not even gonna say producing records yet because that the correct term
Yeah.
is beats. And that's actually what got me to want to create my own company. I didn't want to get signed to a label. I wanted more control, and I wanted to be a leader.
I'm curious, what was the vision behind it, and what went wrong? Because you're not doing that now, I assume.
Hmm. Yes, obviously something had to go wrong, right?
Right.
uh, the label was called, or the entertainment company was called Hungry and Humble,
Right.
and it was very indicative of my morals at the time, my thought process at the time, being a quote unquote starving artist. Hindsight 2020, that's not a cool thing, but having that starving artist scenario, that was the
Right.
hungry, and then just remaining um, aware, self-aware, especially when it came to my roots, my upbringing, and even my higher calling, what I believe in. That's where the humility part came in. And then to not sound all jargony and nerdy and stuff like that, even E40 had a term called hungry and humble. He said it, you know what I'm saying? So it was
Right.
like something that I felt was resonated with me. You being from what you said, the West Coast, the LA
Right.
area right there, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's where it came from, hungry and humble, just being starving artists, being grinding it out at the same time, wanting to be grateful for my opportunities.
So, hungry and humble. You're out here. You got the vision. You're hungry for it. I was hungry too. I had my MPC 4000. I was making my beat, and I was trying to do the same thing. But a lot went wrong for me. You got a lot behind the actual name, Hungry and Humble. You had some meaning. Like people like me, when I started, I was just tall, and I had a friend that was tall. We called ourselves the Twin Towers. So you got a lot of meaning behind it. But at the same time, I do want to know. I want to get into what went wrong there. What went wrong? What happened to the company?
Well, it's funny. Speaking of me being from San Antonio, Texas, I don't live there now, but um, being born there, Tim Duncan and David Robinson were our twin towers, so to
There it
speak.
is. Yeah.
As, but in terms of what went wrong, without being overly nuanced with it, because we all know it's always layered when it comes to things not going our way. But
Right.
for the most part, the co-founder, the part that you had said before, the irony is that had a little sting to it, a little bumblebee, little feel. But I'm saying that to say that when you co-found something with somebody and things don't work out, or there's a different, going back to that vision part, when people have different visions,
Yep.
it's really hard to stay aligned. And eventually you're going to start seeing a decline in somebody's behaviors, their mannerisms, even if do they care about the company the same way?
Yeah.
Eventually that happens. It's like relationships. So that was one of the biggest things, besides the fact that the funding wasn't there. It
Right.
takes a lot of money to really distribute an album, to
Right.
marketing and touring. And then the artistry, to be 100% honest, I I I was an artist producer
Mhm.
per se. But at the same time, I my favorite part about it was producing. So when you don't have an artist that's as hungry as you and willing to do what they need to do
Yeah.
and willing to sacrifice and not be out here doing dumb stuff, it's
Yeah.
really hard to be that producer. And then you have to be the artist.
I totally get that. Everyone says if you run a business with someone, it's like you're marrying them and it can go sour very quick. And I've learned that many times. I'm curious, having known that, what skills did you kind of carry through into your current brand, Iconic Expressions?
I'll talk about the appropriate things that I learned. Because you learn some other things. You learn a lot of things. What you go like, or what not to
Right.
do, or what not to be around. We'll say that, what you don't need to be around, who you don't need to be around, because they're not on the same page. They're not living a quote unquote appropriate lifestyle.
Mhm.
But some of the skills, I would say, it goes to that awareness part. That was one of the biggest skills I had to really understand, being aware of who I was around and being aware of myself. Um, from a technical standpoint, getting more familiar with computers. You know, one of the friends I had at the time who was a super nerd, like he was a real nerd. When I call myself a nerd, I'll just be saying that. I mean, I know I am, to all the cool people out there, but when I get amongst the nerds, they be like, bro, you ain't even on
Right.
our level.
Right.
But
Right.
he was a super nerd, and I'm saying this to say because he helped me build my first computer. And at that time in the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, you didn't have the same access and power of technology that we have now.
Right.
So, when you get a MacBook or something like that, as an example, it's all pre-built. So I
Mhm.
ended up having to build my computer from scratch. And that was my first time building a computer from scratch, getting the motherboard, ordering the RAM, ordering all these pieces, and then having my friend literally help me set it up, walk me through this. That way I can put the programs on it and start making beats and recording myself. So
Right.
that was one of the hugest skills that kind of became a waterfall, like a trickle into me learning all these other digital apps and tools over the next decade or two. It was literally me building a computer and putting it together and then seeing a program come on a screen that I've never seen before and then being able to operate that thing. And it was like, wow, I really built something digital.
That's really cool. People don't do that today. That's not part
Yeah.
of the process.
I
Well,
Mm-mm.
remember
maybe
those days.
actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, that segues to what I want to talk about, building while becoming, right? So you built that computer, you became a business owner and you started to produce and making beats and things like that. So I want to get into back to where you started Iconic Expressions back in 2015. I want to know what did that business look like then compared to now?
Whew, you ever seen a Two-Face on Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Night and day, Eric, night and day. So I mean, and I'm saying that, because when you look at the things and the nightmares and everything that you've overcame and all the challenges, you can look back at it and laugh. You may cry, but when you're going through it, you're like, wow, when is this ever going to end? And
Right.
at that time, when I started the business, it actually came from, and I'm not sure if I've even really told the origin story before in terms of like a podcast episode, but it actually came from a friend of mine or at the time they were a friend of mine. He had a video company, and the video company was named after his birthday. And I was doing some video work with him in this video company. It wasn't really a company, but it was what he was going underneath. And so we decided we were going to partner up. And this was years after the Hungry and Humble didn't work out. So I pivoted a little bit into video photography.
Mhm.
I noticed that that's a big thing that a lot of people do, especially in the music business. I've noticed that like rappers end up being videographers. They end up like the music videos and stuff. Like it's just kind of funny.
Right.
I feel like that hit home for Eric for a second. I saw the face. I saw his face.
Definitely.
I didn't know
Definitely.
that. That's new for me.
That's new.
I had
Um,
no idea.
but at the time, he had the video company, and I wanted to instill some business because he wasn't business oriented. So I told him the name sucked, for lack of a better term. I said we need to come up with a different name. And so we ran through before the Chat GPT era, before the Claude era. We actually like came up with all these lists of names. I guess that's old school now. And then we did the process of elimination, and it was a name that wasn't Iconic Expressions. It was something Iconic Impressions. And I was like, nah, that ain't gonna work. We need something else. And then I was like, Expressions. We ended up changing it to that name. Um, our partnership at the time didn't work out at that time, but basically told this person I refuse to let another business fail that I started. And I said, I'm going to start the business myself without you. And so what I did was I put it was called Iconic Expressions when me and him had it. I put the over it. I LLC'd it, and it's been 10 years since, 11 years.
You've been an entrepreneur your entire life, or have you ever done the corporate route?
I've done the 9 to 5. I've had jobs, if that's what you're saying, the JOBs.
The
Yeah.
I've had
JOBs?
yeah, I've had those. I've had those. But I would say it's been a while since I've had to have since I've had a normal job. It's not easy.
That's pretty amazing. A lot of people listening are trying to build something. they're also working full time, raising kids, paying bills. And I think they would love to know, how did you do it and what did you have to sacrifice to kind of build this business out?
It was that word again, sacrifice. Woo!
Right.
Music, huh? Music to the ears. Sacrifice. I mean, I guess going back to that question in the beginning that I had asked you all, kind of posing that LinkedIn proposal, going back to that whole sacrifice. I don't know, and I don't think anybody else knows, our exact future. I don't know what that it looks like, but I do know that we can prep. We can help enhance the possibilities of what's going to happen, and having to give up a lot of, let's say, fun time was a big part of it. A lot of people don't want to give up the entertainment aspect of their life. I'm not saying you can't be entertained. We all like a little Netflix every now and then, a little
Mhm.
movie or something, go bowling and stuff. But in terms of giving up entertainment often, that's one of the sacrifices that you got to make in order to make it as entrepreneurship. Um, Permission from family and friends. That was a hard sacrifice right there. Well, I can tell you right now, for a long time, I didn't want to do what I wanted to do, mainly because, or I didn't want to go full fledged with it, or I was ashamed of it because of the pressures or the conversations around um, my pursuit of quote unquote happiness, aka my career. I mean, let's keep it all the way. Can I keep it all the way real?
Yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
want.
So I can't say it's for all communities. I think every community does this, but I'm going to definitely say the Black community is huge for this term. Little. The term little, even though it may fly over most people's heads, I catch it, and I notice other people are starting to catch on to it too. When we say, well, people go, you got that little business of yours, that little
Mhm.
hair, that little thing, that little.
Ooh.
They have no idea how they're psychologically putting this mindset into, they're programming you to think that the thing that you have, it's not a big deal. And I can tell you that I think this is in all family structures and in any ethnicity or any cultural community. When people, you've been doing what you've been doing for 5 or 10 years, and your mom and dad or cousins still don't know what you do. They like, so
Mhm.
what do you do again? You like, I've been doing this thing for 10 years and y'all still don't.
Right.
So it's just those little things, sacrificing wise, in terms of having to give up the permissions, having to give up the approvals of family and friends because you can't worry about that stuff. And then also upskilling, going back to what you were saying, Ika, about upskilling, what skills that I learned, having to upskill yourself. I have a GED, so I don't have a degree. Most people assume that I have a degree when I speak at conferences or I publicly speak. And because I have a GED, the amount of self education I had to do to kind of catch up to the norm of the standard, like what you're accredited for in terms of how
Right.
people will see you. So I had to catch up, and it wasn't because I didn't get a GED because I failed. It was I was moving back and forth between Texas and Ohio when I was in high school. My parents were in the military, and they have a different credit system. So I was one of the unlucky ones that had to go to summer school, and I couldn't afford summer school my 12th grade year, when the guidance counselor told me, "Hey, Mr. Stevens, you don't have enough credits here in this school district, so we're gonna have to put you in summer school." So I ended up having to get my GED because of that. So it's just little things like that, I would
Wow.
say, are big lessons that I've had to go through. Like, don't let people judge you. And people assume, if they do judge you, if you're feeling like a pimp, go and dust your shoulders off.
For
Ladies is
sure.
pimps too. Go and dust your shoulders off.
Yeah. Well, that speaks volumes because I mean, having a GED, like you said, you had to do a lot of self education, right? You had to educate yourself in a lot of different avenues, because you didn't have all the years of just strict schooling. And when I say strict schooling, depending on your location and who you are as a person, still may graduate with a high school degree and still didn't get any strict schooling. So let me just correct that there. But I know that you do speak at a lot of different events and you do a lot of public speaking there. So I'm curious to know, like, some of those subjects. What do you actually talk about? How do you engage with those people that you talk to? Is there like a set plan? How does that work?
I think you both know, as hosts and speakers yourselves, it always depends on the type of engagement, the activity that you're going to speak at. Not all speaking engagements are created equally. So there
Right.
are ones that I am doing more of a workshop style where I'm teaching the subjects of website development,
Okay.
branding, AI or automation. And then there's other times where I'm doing a public speaking gig where it's more motivational, right? And people probably don't want to hear all that business jargony talk about that kind of stuff. They want to hear more things that can help them get lifted, uplifted, and feel good and feel inspired about themselves, or feel inspired to do something different, to keep growing. I would say those are the two main types of speaking that I'm doing right now that I'm interested in is either more service, help you grow your business related, or help you get some of those troubling times because I've had dark times too. I've had to get through, and I know I'm not the only one.
I like that. Back in the business days when you were doing like media production, you pivoted to branding and web development, what you just said you teaching workshops on. So how did you know that was the right move for you?
Well, good question. I would say the how I knew it was the right move was because I ended up becoming, and I think a lot of people probably watching this episode and just watching y'all's podcast in general, and I could say in just in general, I'm not sure that's a term in general, but just in general, a lot of people create uh, a venture or they get into the entrepreneurship sometimes, create products and services based off of what they lacked or what they didn't have. And so when it came to the music business side of things and going back to the origins, the X-Men origin stories, I ended up creating an agency because that's exactly what we needed in order to take off. I didn't have the marketing strategy, the marketing plans. I didn't have the marketing team, the website, the automations. I didn't have those things in place. So over time. And one of the lessons that I did learn in terms of if you want to start a business and get into business, think of a red square, think of a yellow circle, and maybe a orange triangle. Those are all three different colors and all three different shapes. And if you can imagine those three different colors and three different shapes, that is very similar to entrepreneurship, as simple as it sounds. I'm oversimplifying it. All it means is you got to start somewhere and go to the next thing, and one thing leads to another that you never would have thought. So a red square turns into a purple triangle. A purple triangle turns into a yellow polka dot. Like this thing that you had no idea was going to come, but you had to have this first shape and this first color of what your life was like, what your career was like, what that opportunity was like, what that skill was like. And then the next thing you know, because you've already gotten over that, you've seen that shape. Now you're able to see the next new shape, the next new thing. That's entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I really feel that. I'm curious too because branding to me is very daunting. I ran a small agency in the past, and people have this expectation that you can be a one-man show. And I quickly learned that branding itself is like a whole experience. People don't understand that in order to create a good brand identity, you have to be a good storyteller, but you also have to have the craft to know logo design and to know how to really be a visual artist. It's not that simple. It's not like, oh, just create a logo. It takes years of experience and years of learned knowledge. So that's something that I knew I was never good at, because I knew graphic designers who like spend hours in their notebooks just like practicing and practicing logos, you know.
Mhm.
So I was curious, like that's a pretty ballsy move to approach branding. Was that something that you focused on, or is that kind of an add-on in your business, or how did you integrate branding in your process?
Going back to the aspect of becoming or at least offering what you weren't. And so I had to learn going through all these iterations of the marketing flywheel, for lack of a better term. I think we all can say because we live in a world where we're able to try new things. Like it's
Yeah.
not like this is not the olden days where you really have to stick to one thing because it's a make it or break it. So
Yeah.
it's a catch 22. Probably should stop saying that. Probably said it too many times, but it is a good thing and a bad thing in terms of being able to understand where you are. And so going through all of like this SEO, going
Mhm.
through the marketing strategy, going through social media marketing, just going through these phases in my life and my season and trying to offer these different things. I try to learn it, then offer it. Then I had to learn, okay, this ain't fitting me. This is not fitting me. I think you both been through that. Something ain't fitting you, but you had to try to do it.
Yeah.
What I learned more than anything is that I hate marketing. And I'm
What? But
saying that
you're marketing. What?
I love the reaction. I was like, let's see if they
I mean, I
if they
can
get a
relate to
reaction.
that, but hey, like you're a marketing person, so I'm like, how is that?
So and that's I wanted to see your faces when I said that. I wanted to see how y'all were gonna react. And the reason why I said that is because I had to learn that marketing is not branding and branding is not marketing. And for
Okay.
me personally being more strategic and for me being more sticky, branding made more sense for an offering. Not only that, I was
Mm.
giving branding away for free technically, and I would build a website because this
Mhm.
person in this company still needed these different assets built. I didn't know what it was called. I thought it would just build a website. Say, hey, just give me a
Mhm.
line. But I learned over time and through avenues like Chris Doe in the future and
Yeah.
things like that, that oh no, that you're doing a whole process of branding and stuff. So I usually always tell this story, and I believe I made it up. I haven't heard anybody tell it, so I'm going to tell it really really quickly. But if you guys did hear it, let me know because I don't want to feel stupid on your podcast to your audience members.
No,
Like
you
he think
good.
he's saying the original stuff. He ain't saying that to the original. But the way that I typically think of branding and marketing is I tell people, imagine yourself in a boat and you're in the middle of the ocean, and this boat has holes in it. And it's just you in this boat in the middle of the ocean. You can see far away in the yonder, you know how they say yonder, that's old school.
Yeah.
Old school, that's Steve Harvey, that old school.
Yeah.
And then you can see in the yonder, and you see the island. Your boat has holes in it. There's two things you can do. You can calm down and think how you can plug up those holes, or you can row really, really fast to that island before you sink. Marketing, for the most part, is rowing really, really fast to that island before you sink. That's advertising, marketing. Why? Because you're just trying, you're exhausting energy, putting something into it. You're not trying to plug up the hole, you're just trying to get to the destination. So by the time you get to that destination, yes, you got there. However, oftentimes most people can't even be grateful or appreciate the destination because they're tired, aka you call it burnout in the entrepreneurship world, right? Whereas branding is plugging up those holes. Hey, we got to fix this, we got to fix that, we got to get our assets ready, we got to get the design, we got to get our messaging before we start rowing the boat to the island. That's where I see most people do is they row really really fast, and then what happens with service providers, I don't like working in this way, but you end up being in a position where you can quote unquote be on call for people. You're people's patch up crew. They want you to want you to fix the fire, the plane while it's burning. So that's why I'm not a fan of marketing. I think it's not sticky. It's throwing spaghetti at the wall most of the time if you're not doing it right.
That's really interesting.
I haven't heard that, so it was original for me.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I want to get into serving, serving people, because in the past, your company specifically served minority-owned business. I want to know why the pivot to all businesses, and why was the focus on minority at first? So why the pivot?
Most of us start with everybody.
Right.
So the irony is I pivoted into the minority owned versus like starting with. And I'm saying that to say
Right.
that's something that most entrepreneurs, somebody who's watching this that doesn't know, or maybe somebody that can relate, that's one of the first mistakes that we make, but it's also one of the things that we need to do. We got to start somewhere. So we try to serve everybody. Going back to that marketing, that's what people do. They're trying to serve everybody when it comes to marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Branding, you're not doing that. You're being really specific and focused on certain peoples and groups. So in starting off my pivot in terms of my businesses, not necessarily my career, starting a new business with the Iconic Expressions, I try to serve everybody. Whoever, hey, if you walk through that door, you getting served. Hey, I'm Oprah over here. You get served. You get served. You get served. You get served. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can get served. But then I had to realize that wasn't necessarily at that time where my heart was, not being too heady, but just it wasn't where my heart was at that time. But here's the thing, this is the kicker. This is what I had to learn that I was my worst enemy when it came to being a business owner. I was in my way, and there's nothing wrong with having certain demographics that you serve. Obviously you should do that, have certain specific type of people that you serve. But what I had to learn was the vision that I had for my company wasn't going to match or specifically align with my quote unquote nonprofit mentality, moral obligation to the world. That, for lack of a better term, that's how you go broke. That's how I was broke back then. You know what I'm saying? Go through some struggle. So I had to kind of remove that mentality and put on the other hat of, okay, it can't be just quote unquote my minority segment, but it doesn't mean that a minority is not going to be in the segment that I need to be in order to get my business to the revenue goal, I'm looking to meet. I have to be serving people that have the money. Whether I like it or not that they do have the money, that's a different conversation and a different topic for a different podcast. And whether I like it that they have money. But the question is, who has the money so my company can get paid so I can pay my people, you know what I'm saying, and pay my bills and get the things that I want for my daughter? I gotta be a businessman and not just be a good, trying to be moral obligation, righteous man. Even though I do that too, but I can't think from that hat.
Could you describe that kind of ideal segment, like what they do?
Yeah.
Can you get into some more detail? I think that kind of makes people stand out as entrepreneurs, like kind of really knowing that audience that they're going for, that sort of unique, what is it called? ICP?
There's so many terms for it. That's definitely one of the terms for it. Buyer personas, buyer
Yep.
profiles, customer profiles. The list goes on. So for my company now in 2026 and for the past year, financial services, healthcare services are some of the verticals. So I'm just giving some of the verticals. Um, Nonprofits, ed tech. So education and tech is real big. Technology is real big. Those are the main verticals, I would say. Then in terms of the financials, because financials matters. But money wise, companies between the 10 and $100 million mark, um,
Mhm.
preferably the $2 and $10 million mark is still good too. Or I'm saying this to say, most people talk about they want to be a millionaire. Like I've been in so many networks, I've been in so many powwows, so many groups, especially people in certain, certain communities. They talk about the millionaire. I'm gonna be a millionaire. You'll be a millionaire. I'm like, you ain't even done the thing to make 100,000 now. You know what I'm saying? You haven't even hit the 100K. You talk about being a millionaire. Not even just that. Do you even realize that you shouldn't even be able to afford you? This is the thing that you have to get to. You have to work. If you're not a millionaire, you're making 10,000 a year. You ain't gonna get to 100,000 if you are serving people making 10,000 a year. You got to serve the 100,000 or more. So in order for me to become a millionaire, I had to really understand, and it's a hard pill to swallow. It really is, because you feel like you're alienating other people. I had to really understand I can't keep serving unless it's a one-on-one, unless it's for a certain situation. I can't keep fully serving people underneath the $1 million revenue, cap range if I'm striving to be a millionaire myself, because they only have poquito, a certain amount of money to spend on my companies. So I can't be thinking illogical, as Chris Doe would say.
Okay. Well, you're making that money. You're trying to build that financial security for you, but you're also a father. I'm a father as well. And so building a business, building that empire for yourself, becoming a father usually changes everything about how you do things, because you got more responsibility. You think about things a little bit differently. You also think about what you want to leave for your children. I saw that they said you were the happiest when you're helping others achieve their goals without compromising your own. How do you hold that balance being a father?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Holding the balance, holding the balance, and helping people achieve their goals. I mean, Eric, I think you probably know as well as I do, and others. It is as cliche as it sounds. It's a learning as you go process. Um,
Facts.
I had to learn that nobody could write the book for me, even though you can read books and learn about it. But in terms of parenthood, and being a father, everybody has their own way or entryway into parenthood. I mean, there's so many different dynamics, especially in the States, in the United States. I can't speak for other countries, even though I've traveled to other countries. I've seen other the way other people live. But here, there's just so many different dynamics and nuances. So I would say my story is a little unique in terms of my fatherhood. And for some people, it may not be unique. For some people, it may resonate. You know, I'm just saying, just in general. But in terms of fatherhood wise, I've had to learn, for me, the ultimate giving up of control, the ultimate of not necessarily having the ability to have things your way, to have it done your way, even though it is your, I'm gonna say, your person. Like, this person came from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this
Right.
seed came
Right.
from you, right? And that, to me, besides I'm, loving the fact that my daughter is healthy, and I call her junior girl because she looks just like me. I got the word junior from King Richard. I think it was Venus, because she was winning the junior, and he would call her junior. And I thought,
Yeah.
I don't mean to, be weird, but I thought it was cute. I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. Like,
It's,
he's calling it
it
like
is. It is.
it was kind of cute. So I was like, my daughter looks just like me. She literally is like the light skinned version of me, and I just call her junior girl. And even though she's probably gonna do her own thing until when she grows up and have her own mentality, my goal while she's in her younger years and while we're going through our own dynamics and nuances of co-parenting and being a parent, how can I best influence her and be the leader for her and best guide her in my actions while still understanding and be willing to give up certain power dynamics, certain things that I would like. And it's a lesson that goes back into business that I think is interesting because oftentimes you have to give up one. I'm not sure if it's a saying or a conundrum or whatever, but I've heard it many times from many gurus in terms of you can't have both. What do you want? Do you want control or do you want money? Everybody's going to say both for the most part. But in business, two different things. People will give up money so that they can have control. And a lot of people will give up control so that they can have money.
If your daughter came to you like down the line and was like, "Hey, Dad, I want to start my own business. I want to do my own thing." How would you feel knowing what you went through as an entrepreneur?
I would embrace it. I would definitely embrace her decision to do so. I would support her um, as much as I can, as much as I believe I should, without uh, taking away some of the things that she needs to learn in her own lessons. I would definitely try to give her some warnings, some help her see some of the signs and red flags that she would want to run into or she's going to run into as an entrepreneur. At the same time, I would make sure, is this right for her? I would kind of do some of the tactics we're taught in the sales process when we're talking with new prospects or clients at some point in time to give a little pushback. I'm not sure if everybody knows that, but that's often a tactic or something that we're taught. And it's not to be malicious or to have malintent, but it's you want to see if that person really wants to work with you. You don't want just anybody just jumping on. So I would want to do that with my daughter. I would want to go, hey, baby, are you sure you want to do this? It's gonna get rough. It's gonna get hard. All right, let me show you a little bit what it's gonna look like. Probably take, how sometimes they take you to that scared straight. You ever see the little videos where they take the
Yeah.
kids and scared?
Yeah.
I don't mean take her to the prison's yard, but I'm just saying like
Right.
take her to
Yeah.
like, yo, this is what entrepreneurship really is. It ain't all that glitz and glamour, and it can be fun. Hey, it feels good to eat lobster when you want to. You know what I'm saying? It feels
Yeah.
good to do the
Yeah.
things that you want to do. But at the same time, you got to earn your way up to that, and you're gonna have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations. So yeah, I would definitely make sure she's warned, but she's also warmed with embrace.
I would love to go deeper into like those red flags you were talking about, but I did want to touch on kind of the next part because the way I met you is you were posting videos about AI and you're very much a knowledge expert when it comes to using AI tools and marketing, and I wanted to kind of jump into that world and discuss that as well. So, can you kind of talk about how you use AI currently, because not all businesses are implementing it as much as you are, so would love to hear your experience.
Yeah, I think that I am I am an alien when it comes to AI in terms of business usage. I mean that in a way to where it's like for most people, I'm speaking a different language, and I'm thinking that I'm speaking English when I'm talking about AI and the things that you can do and the capabilities. And I'm like, wait, you don't know this? Yeah, it's like the Charlie Brown wah 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 wah. Wait, you don't you like? And so when it comes to AI, I use it both personally and I use it professionally. I use it for both scenarios for the company and to help me automate some processes. But also I use it for my personal needs, whether it's to help me look at my health and keep a eye out on that, being able to do that, or whether it's going through any type of family scenario, we'll say family court situations or any type of legalities or legals. People don't know that you can use AI for that. I use it when it comes to, whew, what is that? It's tax time. Yeah, it's not. I use it to help me with the taxes, help me with that. Um, and then in terms of the business wise, and I think I shared this in the and you attended like the not the presentation I did, but the deep research when it came to my business audits or discovery, when I would try to I would have to do a lot of research manually. I don't think people understand that the deep research feature in these tools, you had to pay tens of thousands for to get that amount of detailed research just a few years ago. I mean, just a few years ago, 5 to 10 years ago, tens of thousands for that amount of research. you know, we are so spoiled to have these different features in these apps and these different models, these AI models that can do these things for us. That I don't understand how people aren't taking advantage of them. But yeah, if there's a hack that you want to know, if there's something specifically, give me a scenario. I probably got a hack for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people use surface level AI, kind of asking them questions and getting an answer and rolling with it. Can you talk a little bit about how the deep research helps you in your business and give me a sort of a scenario where you have a client call, like a discovery call with a client, and what's your process kind of using that?
When it comes to the discovery, for instance, um, Eric knows how to do the broadcast production of a podcast or a live stream.
Mhm.
But the average person is not clicking record or using the AI features when they use Zoom or Google Meet, and it's right there. You ain't got to do it's literally you just press the button and it does the transcribing, the summer, everything is right there in the app. You don't even have to take the transcript and put it in a Claude or a Chat GPT. It's already right there. So to your point in your question, discovery wise, well, most likely if you're doing discovery, you can do it the old way on the phone or in person. And even if you are in person, you still should be recording, transcribing. But discovery, have it turn on the transcription, turn on the AI summary. Then after that, put it in your favorite AI tool, a Gemini, a Claude, a Chat GPT. And if you really want to get fancy with it, click on that deep research based on the discovery, based on the transcript. So it can go out and do extra research. And that's the cool part about the deep research now is you can literally upload a file and then you can do deep research and it can research based on that file you uploaded. Now, people hearing this now, they may go, "Oh, we know that. That wasn't there a year ago, y'all. That wasn't there 2 years." Like some of these features are being added, and they're being added underneath your umbrella, your eyes that you think that it's always been like that. No, it has not. People like me have had to go around and do workarounds for this stuff. So that was one thing. One of the biggest things is using the deep research for that. And then in terms of Claude, for example, getting hyper specific, one thing that Claude did that I loved was this feature called Skill. And what Skills is basically, and I'm just paraphrasing, it's a packaged SOP for an AI. Now, what people don't understand is that Claude did a great job in terms of kind of like breaking the AI mold. They made a game changer when they came up with the term, they came up with their framework of MCP, the Model Context Protocol. For anybody watching or listening, the simplest way is to think of it as a USB-C for AI, meaning anything can plug into your AI tool. with this quote unquote MCP. That's what Claude did. And it was funny, Eric, every time I say MCP, I think of MPC. I had to be cognizant, you know what I'm saying? No, it ain't MPC, it's MCP. So they came out with MCP so that all these AI tools can connect with your average everyday apps. I'm being super simple because I don't want to get overcomplicated. So we have the MCP connection. Then we have this other layer, which is called projects, where if you're in ChatGPT or Claude, you can make this kind of siloed workspace within that app and only put certain files or knowledge in that siloed that workspace that you have within your own ChatGPT or Claude. So you got your own custom space in the app. Projects was a great thing. It was a great thing. But like everything else, we don't know things aren't that great until the next thing comes. We're like, oh, now I see what I should have. So they came up with this new feature called skills. And the reason why skills is a phenomenon to the AI world, it's because now you can give the AI this file that's basically this SOP. You can upload it to Claude, and now Claude can use that SOP, that file, on every project you make, on every chat you make. So you no longer have to have a content marketing project, a copywriter project, a social media marketer project. No, turn those projects that are quote unquote roles or jobs, turn those into skills. And the best part about it is that skill that you create, that packaged file of the instructions of how to do XYZ, ChatGPT can read it. It's universal. I'm sure that the other apps are going to adopt it because when Claude did MCP, guess who adopted it? Google, ChatGPT, everybody else made it a standard. So I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but my theory is that people are going to start adopting the skills. And even though it's not a native feature in ChatGPT, ChatGPT can still read that skill. The reason why I love that is because now you can give that skill, that SOP, that file to all your staff members. So you don't even have to buy the Teams plan no more. Put it in a Google Drive folder or a Dropbox folder and let them get it from there.
That's a gem.
Having this thing go to Gemini and get this image and then go to another program and get that thing. Imagine just doing what you would pay a VA for. I literally just had it bulk upload and schedule for me a whole bunch of posts. And I have a VA that's going to review them and improve them because I still want the human in the loop part. But does Claude know how to schedule? Does it have API to connect to my schedule? Absolutely. I tell my VA real quick, anybody who's watching this, if you are a business owner or entrepreneur using AI, you have to realize that you don't want to punish people for using AI. I think this is a big topic most people don't talk about. You don't want to punish them because we always get taught the hourly, how we get punished for doing things hourly. We get paid by the hour, meaning time and hour. But the AI can have you do that same thing in 5 minutes. So then the VAs or people in that the scenario, like a lawyer, somebody that pays hourly, their profit margin goes up exponentially if they're still charging you the same thing. Meaning, like the same thing, it took them an hour to do the task. Now it takes them 5 minutes, but you're still paying for the whole hour. So where the balance is going to have to shift in the business world is people are going to have to understand, I expect to get 5 times the output out of you. If I'm not going to pay you any less, I'm not going to pay you I'm not going to down your rate because we're using AI. But if you ain't giving me 5 to 10 times more output, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem.
Yeah, this is very engaging, and I appreciate everything you shared with us today. And also, I want to ask if there's anything else you want to leave our listeners with before we exit today.
Well, I want to first thank you all, for having me on. First of all, let's start there. My appreciation, and I know you two are very busy, and you have SWURL, and you have the app, and you have the things that you guys are creating, that you all are doing the platform. Thank you, first of all, for having me on, and then in terms of leaving anything with the audience, I definitely want people to be encouraged if they want to jump into entrepreneurship, that it's possible to win. It's possible to get wins. It's possible to get through it. However, at the same time, you have to realize that there's a reason why only a small percentage of people actually make it in 10 to 15 years, 10 to 20 years, because it's hard. It's excruciating. It's a grind. And so anybody who's deciding they want to be an entrepreneur or who is running a business, first of all, give yourself a pat on the back if you've made it. for a while. And if you're just getting in the game, take a breath, drink some water, exercise, yoga, eat something good. You know, it's going to be a little while. You got to be patient. You need patience.
Right.
And in terms of my company, I am doing a rebrand. I don't know how to say doing, or I'm relaunching my brand, and I've been working on that for a few months now with a really good friend. His company's called Mind the Font, and he's a professional designer. And Ayka, going back to your point, I had to give up the reins of branding myself, and that's why I hired a professional person to do it for me. Even though my company offers branding, but sometimes you need a partner with somebody else to help complete that offering. And
Yeah.
so, to me, this is coming full circle because relaunching my brand. It's been 10 years. This is my first new brand in 10 years, a decade. So
Oh,
anybody who is looking for a partner, a transformation partner with their company that's looking to build their web systems, looking to build their brand systems and connect those things together, or even their automation systems. We've been talking about AI. If you want to reach out, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me, Maestro Stevens. Should be easy to find. I'm one of one. You can Google my name. Only one person gonna show up. It should be me. That's
Yeah,
me.
nice.
Well, Maestro, hey, I appreciate everything. I appreciate your time. I resonate with a lot of the stuff that we discussed today. So, hey, much praise to you. Good luck on this new year and much more success, my man.
Thank you. Thank you both. Likewise.